Pursuing play. This month we're minding our P's and our Q's. Did anyone hear that? We talked about this last week. You know, as children we were told to mind your P's and Q's, especially a grandparent would say that to me. But we're not doing this in a scolding way, as we might have been told as children, but in a way to lift us up into life of greater meaning, filled with magic and miracles. And specifically, we're being mindful. To practice prayer, that was last week. To pursue play, that's today. To quicken our pure potential and power up our positive thinking, that's next week. And finally, to possess a grateful presence, and that is perfect, of course, for Thanksgiving weekend. So if you were here last week, you may remember that we did a spiritual mindfulness practice, and I said that we were going to do one of those each week, but we're going to get to that in just a moment. But first I want to lay a little bit of groundwork for our topic first, which is deeply profound and spiritually powerful, and that is pursuing play. And I would like to say that pursuing play, or why would I like to say that pursuing play is vital to a life lived in peace and power. Why would I say that? Why would I say that it could be looked upon as a spiritual practice? Now that is kind of extreme, isn't it? You don't often think of play as a spiritual practice. But let's think about that for a moment. When we're at play, we're having fun in a mindful way, meaning being fully present to it. In the moment, what is going on inside of us? We're happy, we're joyous. What is it when you're playing? How do you feel? You're smiling, you're laughing, you're childlike, you're energetic, you're relaxed, exhilarated, not worried about tomorrow. You're totally present in the moment. You're feeling free, you're unencumbered, you're spontaneous, you're imaginative, all those fun things. Do you see any relationship between these qualities and your divine nature? You see a relationship there? Those are our natural inherent qualities. In the Bhagavad Gita, which I always have a hard time pronouncing, we are told that the full nature of God is joy and that we are the enjoyers. I love that. We're the enjoyers. The nature of God is joy, and we're the enjoyers. Now, look at how the universe and the creative process of the universe work. There's a natural law of creation. The law of attraction is one name for it. And we create our lives depending on what the messages we consistently give to that law. What we plant in the law, so to speak, with our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, and our attitudes, and our values, and our actions, is what we see manifested in our lives. What happens when we plant in the law messages of happiness, joy, imagination, energy, exhilaration, and freedom? What do we get when we plant that into the law? I'd say we get back a life of peace and power. So, do you see why the pursuit of play is something we should be mindful of as a spiritual practice? See that? Okay, having said that, we're now ready for our playful mindfulness exercise. Oh boy. Are you ready? Everybody ready? Are you sure? Okay. This is one that Vitura Popke taught. Now, does anybody recognize that name?
What's the name?
Vitura Popke. For those of you who don't recognize the name, she was our founder, Ernest Holmes' personal practitioner.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, right here in California. And then she moved to Arizona and served and taught there until her transition in the 90s, which is, wow, she lived quite a long time. Laughing exercise. This is a laughing exercise, which I want you to all participate in. So you're all going to stand up and do this, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to raise your hands over your head, all right? And you're going to bend down and touch your toes and say, "Oh, bountiful joy, come bubbling forth." And you're going to do this 4 times. Oh, bubbling joy, oh, bountiful joy, come bubbling forth. Oh, bountiful joy, come bubbling forth,
So
okay?
we go down, say that, and come back up.
You go down and say, "Oh, bountiful joy, come bubbling forth." Okay,
Right,
so
right,
let's do
right.
this. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, bountiful joy, come bubbling up. 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 You can sit down now if you'd like.
We interrupt the service for a CNN news flash.
The Center for Disease Control has reported this week that there's a new virus that's been discovered. This virus is airborne and spreads very rapidly from one person to the next. It is so contagious that even one person can pass it on to millions. The CDC advises that in order to avoid contracting this virus, you must keep a distance of at least 50 feet between you and anyone displaying the symptoms. They have given it a very interesting name. It is called Systemic Measure of Infinite Life Eternal, or for short, SMILE, SMILE. We now return to our regularly scheduled program.
Oh, and if that's the case, let's cause a smile epidemic. All right. I have always been so moved, seriously, by the statue of the Laughing Buddha or the painting of the Laughing Jesus, which I keep this in my home just to remind me that, you know what, God loves to laugh too. And how does God laugh? God laughs through us. We're here to show God a good time. That's what our purpose is. So too often, I think that we believe that we have to finish our work before we can have fun. Right? Or we have to get through that hard time, or something else has to get done, and that, sometime later we'll have time to play. Sometime later we'll have time for fun or for laughter or for joy or spontaneous, etc. And I really know that I can be guilty of this. But think about this. Have you ever been driving a car when the light on the dashboard came on signifying that there was low oil pressure, or that your oil was low, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have to answer aloud, but have you ever made the decision not to stop right then and take care of it and get it checked out because you were really kind of close to your destination, you were going to get there anyway, and you were sure you could make it? After all, it was just a few more miles. And then you've pushed it into the garage, and then you were told that because the oil ran dry, the parts had worked against one another with no oil, and the engine had burned itself up, and that will now need a complete overhaul. I actually had a friend whose sister borrowed his car, and the oil light came on, and she just like, what's that? I don't see an oil light. What? There's a light that came on, and she ran it dry and ruined his engine. I actually know that does happen. And all too often, I think we often do the same thing for ourselves that we've done to our cars. We see that warning signal, but we think we can go just a little bit further, right? Without doing anything about it. We just go a little bit farther on down the road, and we may make it. We may. And sometimes we think we're really making it, but we're not. And sometimes we crash, and we're in need of a complete overhaul. We need joy and play as we go along in life, just as the car needs oil when it's running, not after the journey is finished. We need it as we go along. A very appropriate Bible verse is the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness.
The oil of joy.
The oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. In fact, the Bible repeatedly emphasizes the importance of maintaining a sense of lightheartedness, joy, and humor. In the book of Ecclesiastes, we are reminded that there is a time to laugh and a time to cry. It's fascinating to realize that the Bible has over 90 references to joy. And here are just a few. And this is one we say every Sunday. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Here's another. Let the rivers clap their hands and the hills be joyful together. That's in Psalms. And another one from Psalms, all who seek for God shall live in joy. And another in Isaiah, everlasting joy shall be upon their heads, they shall obtain joy and gladness, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away. And from the teachings of Jesus, we read, these things I have spoken to you that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full. That's in John. And commenting on Jesus' teaching on joy, New Thought writer Eric Butterworth wrote, when Jesus tells us to rejoice and be of good cheer, he was pointing to the dynamic truth. The potential for rejoicing is already within us. Joy is a spiritual capacity, the unborn possibility of abundant living, and it is our privilege and responsibility to release it. It is our privilege and responsibility to release it. So do you have a playful attitude about life? About yourself? Huh? It's said that angels can fly because they take themselves lightly. Ernest Holmes said that he took his work seriously, but not himself. That's in his Sermon by the Sea. One person who took himself lightly was Yogi Berra in his great autobiographical book, The Yogi Book, subtitled, "I Really Didn't Say Everything I Said." Here are some of the pearls. I was giving Joe directions from New York to our house in Montclair once when I said, when you come to the fork in the road, take it. I was receiving the key to New York City on a miserably hot and humid day. Mayor Lindsay's wife, Mary, commented on how cool I looked, and I replied, "You don't look so hot yourself." I guess I was a little nervous about the speech I had to make. He also goes on to say, always go to other people's funerals, otherwise they won't go to yours. Never answer an anonymous letter. That actually was given to me when I became a new minister. Don't ever answer an anonymous letter. Okay. Great advice. You've got to be careful if you don't know where you're going, because you might not get there. I don't know where we're going, but we're sure making good time.
Right.
That was kind of yesterday, huh?
That was
Okay. Playing golf one day, I started to complain that my shot was going to go into the water. My friend Kevin Carroll said, "Come on, Yogi. Don't be like that. Think positively." I replied, "Okay, I'm positive my shot is going to go into the water."
Right.
Here's the real new thought piece of advice. 90% of the game is half mental.
Half what?
Mental.
90%.
90% of the game is half mental. We're seeing more and more of and she's got it. Ba-bum. We're seeing more and more evidence of the relationship between joy and physical healing, aren't we? And it really isn't a new concept. In fact, King Solomon gave us one of the earliest records that were regarding healing power of joy and laughter when he wrote in Proverbs, "A merry heart makes the body healthy, but a broken spirit dries up the bones." Think about how many people have osteoporosis. I wonder if the correlation there. In the 1300s, Surgeon Henry de Mondeville reportedly told jokes to his patients in the recovery room. In the 1600s, educator Richard Mulcater recommended laughter for those suffering from head colds. Throughout the centuries, court jesters have been hired to relieve the stress from the royalties. Right, the royalties' governmental duties, right? Perhaps the most insightful recording of the benefits of laughter in healing come from Dr. Norman Cousins in his book Anatomy of an Illness as Perceived by the Patient. In 1964, Dr. Cousins was diagnosed with a crippling and extremely painful inflammation of his body. With his physician's assistant, he checked out of the hospital and into a hotel to utilize as many natural resources as possible to treat his condition. His experience became a controlled study in pain management and overall healing. Dr. Cousins decided to experiment with laughter to create a positive factor in altering his body chemistry to be in a healing mode. He systematically watched candid camera episodes and Marx Brother films and read books like E.B. and Catherine White's Sub-Treasury of American Humor and Max Eastman's The Enjoyment of Laughter. And he later wrote, "I made the joyous discovery that 10 minutes of genuine belly laughter had an anesthetic effect that would give me at least 2 hours of pain-free sleep." 10 minutes of laughing would give you pain-free sleep. He recovered from his condition and spent the next 20 years teaching about the merits of laughing in physical healing. You may recall in the movie The Secret, everybody see The Secret? The woman who shared her story of surviving and recovering from breast cancer healing, how she and her husband had watched nothing but silly movies so that they could laugh. Play, humor, laughter, and joy heal. They're healing. They heal the body. They heal the heart. It's as simple as that. Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind says, "If we wish to come to the Spirit for the healing of our wounds, let us come with spontaneous joy, for the Spirit is joy." And I'm really well aware that life is filled with many situations that are difficult. And you can either laugh or cry. And when we laugh, we lay down our burdens that weigh upon us for even a moment, and we are already, are in that place where we are willing to step into the creative process and create exactly what it is we wish to experience. Could it be that Jesus had this in mind when he said, "Except ye become as little children, you shall not enter the kingdom of heaven"? We need to return and become as a little child. I'm not saying to deny the pain and the suffering that exists, but have you ever noticed how most children deal with their hurts and the little difficulties that they experience? They scream and they cry for a moment or two, and then they're right back at play. Just put it aside and because there's so much to do. There's so much joy to experience. A child is filled with enthusiasm for life and the boundless bubbling forth of joy. He doesn't learn this. That's not something he was taught. It's natural to the spirit until it is unlearned. Ernest Holmes wrote, how we long for return of that simple trust in life which children have. In their minds there are no doubts. They have not yet been told that they are sinners, destitute of divine guidance and spiritual life. The life of the child is lived in natural goodness. God is natural goodness. The prison walls of false experience soon build themselves into barriers, shutting out the light, and the child grows into a man, often losing his sense of that inner guide, leading his footsteps aright. We must return the way we came as little children who know that life is good and to be trusted. I love that last line. We must return the way we came as little children who know that life is good and to be trusted. Remember I shared with you that story that was in Chicken Soup for the Soul about the little 4-year-old who wanted to go in and see his baby sister. And the parents were a little nervous because, we weren't sure that, to let the sibling go in and be alone with the brand new baby. So they stood and they watched as he crept up to the crib. And he said to his little baby sister, "Oh, please tell me what's heaven's like. I'm starting to forget." I always choke up when I tell that story. It's just so beautiful. So find the joy and the spontaneity of the child here. A first grade teacher collected well-known sayings. She gave the children in her class the first half of a proverb and asked them to finish the proverb. I've done this before. These are different though. And here are the results. Strike while the bug is close. It's always darkest before daylight savings time. Never underestimate the power of termites. Don't bite the hand that looks dirty. No news is impossible. You can't teach an old dog new math. Can't teach me that either. Love all, trust me. An idle mind is the best way to relax. Happy is the bride who gets all the presents. A penny saved is not much. Laugh and the whole world laughs with you. Cry and you have to blow your nose. And finally, if you lie down with dogs, you'll stink in the morning.
That's true.
Oh, to conclude, there is a joy potential within every person. There is a light within every person all the time. There is an unborn possibility of happiness. Remember, ours is the privilege and the responsibility of giving birth to it. And when we enlighten up the world. I'd like to proclaim right now that each and every one of you is hereby and forever entitled to walk in the rain, jump in mud puddles, collect rainbows, smell flowers, blow bubbles, stop along the way, build sandcastles, watch the moon and the stars come out, say hello to everyone, go barefoot, go on adventures, sing in the shower, have a merry heart, read children's books, act silly, take bubble baths, Get new sneakers. Ooh, get a whole new box of crayons. Ooh, that's fun too. Hold hands and hug and kiss and dance. Fly kites, laugh and cry for the health of it. Wander around, feel scared, feel sad, feel mad, feel happy. Give up worry and guilt and shame and stay innocent and say yes, say no, say the magic words. Ask lots of questions. Ride bicycles, draw and paint, see things differently, fall down and get up again. Talk with animals. Look at the sky, trust the universe, stay up late, climb trees, take naps. What was that? A new t-shirt. Yes.
I tired.
It's I tired. There's a
What?
nap for that. T-shirt that Chris owned. Take naps, do nothing, daydream, play with toys, have pillow fights, learn new stuff, get excited about everything, be a clown, enjoy having a body, enjoy your body, listen to music, find out how things work, make up new rules, tell stories, save the world, make friends with the other kids on the block, and do anything else that brings more happiness, celebration, relaxation, communication, health, love, joy, creativity, pleasure, abundance, grace, self-esteem, courage, balance, spontaneity, passion, beauty, peace, and life, energy, to the above named member, which is all of you, to each and every one of you, and to the other human beings on this planet. Further, each of you is hereby officially authorized to frequent amusement parks, especially Disneyland. Beaches, meadows, mountaintop swimming pools, forests, playgrounds, picnic areas, summer camps, birthday parties, circuses, cookie shops, ice cream parlors, theaters, aquariums, zoos, museums, planetariums, toy stores, festivals, and other places where children of all ages come to play. And you are encouraged to always remember the motto, it's never too late to have a happy childhood. So let's play. Well, let's pray. I'd like to do a treatment to close this talk. So join with me as I recognize that the divine is expressing in and as and through each and every one of us, and that we are here truly to show God a good time. We are here to play, we are here to express, we are here to be the face of God, the voice of God, the hands of God right here. And as we show by example, we give others permission to do exactly the same, to laugh, to sing, to dance, to celebrate. And we change the world by being the example, by holding the space, by knowing the truth. And we know it within every part of our being, and it is good. And I give thanks that this is so. I release this into the one mind, knowing it is done. And together we say, and so it is.